Welcome to Obscured Reality with Mark and Stephanie. From UFO sightings to the lost city of Atlantis, from alien encounters to the living dead, each episode will leave you questioning reality. If you're ready to explore the eerie, tune in to Obscured Reality, where mysteries come alive.
Most of the first part's cut out anyways. But
Unless
not
you
us, because this is Obscured Reality.
Just gonna say, unless you want to make me look like an idiot, and then
Back
you don't.
at ya. Tonight we're going to skip the UAPs, even though there's a lot allegedly going on. Some reason not in California, but everywhere else. People keep seeing allegedly things in the sky, lights. Who knows? Tonight we're going to talk about Bigfoot.
Oh.
We're going to go through 2 Bigfoot stories, but with a twist. So these 2 stories I got from a particular website that I've mentioned before called BFRO.net. Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization. It's been around for a long time. It's actually a really cool website. There's an interactive map. So when we're done, I'm going to show you the map real quick. I'm going to show you the website. It's pretty cool how you can navigate through it. It's very easy, and it's nice because you click on the U.S. From there, you click on whichever state you want, and from there, it tells you all the counties, or you can see all the counties, and you can click on them and see. And even before you click on the county, you can see the amount of reports from each area, as well as what's the most recent report.
I was very
really
surprised to find one in my county, my previous county. So, I mean, I feel like
everywhere.
everyone should go to this website because you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, BFRO.net. We'll check it out as soon as we're done. We're going to go through 2 stories. Now, what's cool is they do what they can to investigate the claims as well. So if, and they have volunteers everywhere. So if they can send someone out to meet with the person, they do, or they do it by phone, because they want to get a better feel for who's telling them the stories, how they're telling them, if they can get to the location, so it's pretty cool. So we'll see that in this. So let's start off. I picked out 2 stories. They're recent. One of them's very recent. The other one is fairly recent. So the first one comes from May 18th of 2025. So not that long ago, just a few days. Yeah. And this
2
is
days.
in Monroe County, Michigan.
Oh.
So if you're familiar with Michigan, the location details, and they do have GPS coordinates as well, which I'm not going to read that. But this one is near the I-75 to Laplaisance Road exit behind the jail near the quarry in the back. So if you're familiar with the area, and my light got brighter. I don't know why, but let's turn that down. Interesting.
It's a ghost.
Won't go too much into the location. I told you where. So what's observed? So this is what the person stated, what they wrote. I was bow fishing today with my son around 11:30 a.m. Keep in mind, this was 2 days ago, guys, the 18th. We walked down the creek, which is Plum Creek, past 4 bridges, railroad bridges, and headed into the marsh. Important detail there. 100 yards into the marsh, the dog scared up something that was bedded there. And I'm reading this word for word, so this isn't my English. Just want to make that clear. My dog scared up something that was bedded there. Trees were shaking. We thought it was a group of deer. We continued on 200 more yards to the creek basin in the marsh. We sat and enjoyed the wildlife for a little while. We headed back through cattails and saw a lot of deer beds on the way to the first bridge. We crossed the first bridge and was between that and the second bridge. We heard sirens in the distance. My son said, "Do you hear those?" I sat down my bow and arrow to get out my cell phone and earbuds. I wanted to listen to the police scanner app on my phone to see what was happening. My son was behind me and the dog was off to the right. All of a sudden, I heard a rustling in a tree to the left and a huge thud hitting the ground from the tree. A big, heavy animal hit the ground and crouched and started moving towards me through the brush. My dog fired off from the right of me toward the creature. The dog almost got to it, but the creature shot off extremely fast through the trees and brush. The dog chased the creature up the slope and over the train tracks. I then called for my dog to come back. Now, some of these they include pictures. This one they
Mm-hmm.
include pictures because the investigators were able to go out there and look at the area exactly where this was. When he said my dog chased it up the slope, it's not something that's that high. It's if you're walking on the trail, the slope is maybe like 5 feet high, so you
Yeah.
can't just step up it. You got to kind of crawl up it. It's steep, and the train tracks are on the top of that. My son said, "Holy shit, what was that?" It was as big as a bear, but it looked like a gorilla. We walked back, but we heard something crunching on the ground behind us. We left. So,
Hmm.
so the environment here is a swampy forest with railroad tracks, okay?
Okay, I literally just found this area. I'm looking at it on a map as well,
Mhm.
like just because I want to see personally for myself. Very good description as to where it was. I
Yeah,
zoomed into it pretty much immediately.
yeah.
Um,
Now the train tracks are all
Phew.
overgrown. There's literally trees
Okay.
and stuff. They're
Yeah,
very overgrown.
that doesn't
So
surprise me.
some of them have pictures from like what the investigators have put up.
Uh-huh.
This one does have pictures. I'm not going to share them just because there's not really much need to on this. But
Hmm.
let's look at the investigation. So this is the follow up investigation report by the BFRO investigator Matthew Moneymaker. Good stripper name. Chip Chippendales.
Hmm.
So Matthew Moneymaker, he says, I spoke with Edward and his 12-year-old son by phone separately. Both are credible and freshly descriptive about what happened to them this morning. Edward is 47, born and raised, blah, 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 demolition trade. We don't need to go into some of that. I asked many questions about what they saw and what the animal did. I did ask enough to discern that it was not a bear. It was a large, dark, furred primate that ran up a slope on two legs, looking like a gorilla from behind. And then he says, yes, that would be a Bigfoot. I don't know that I would, if I was investigating that, just put that in there because this isn't about um, you. You're basically saying as fact that's what it is when we have
Right.
zero proof or evidence that the Bigfoot's even real, right?
Hmm.
So I wouldn't include that, but that those two sentences right there, I was able to discern it was definitely not a bear, and he's probably discerning that by what it did. It shows you that they do ask a lot of questions. They go into as much detail as they can to try and figure these things out to debunk them or not. um the animal was roughly 10 feet up the tree when it jumped down. At no time was it facing the two humans. The point at which they got the clearest look at it was when it was ascending the embankment. They could see the hairy back and big butt cheeks pretty clearly for a few seconds. The animal was
Okay.
not on all fours. It raced up the slope on two legs, but hunched forward. In its
Hmm.
hunched posture, it was nearly 6 feet tall. The son said it would have been much taller if not hunched over. So you see the detail here and how you can clearly see there's definitely a much better chance that it might not be a bear, but
Hmm.
also doesn't mean it's not a bear. Now, I don't know that we would actually be seeing a bear running up on two legs up a hill, right? It's going to be much easier for them. It's an embankment, not a hill. It's going to be much
Right.
easier for them on all
Hmm.
fours. But this incident happened so fast that there was no time to even consider trying to photograph it. The whole encounter lasted less than 10
Hmm.
seconds from beginning to end. It happened totally by surprise. No one would have gotten a photo of it in that first shock interval. Now, that's important. 10 seconds. The whole thing lasted about 10 seconds. Well, they never saw this thing in the tree. So I don't know how they know or can guesstimate it was about 10 feet up in the tree. Could have been
Hmm.
20 feet up, right? They never
Right.
saw it. So it was the thump it was the rustling in the tree. They look over. As they start to look over, they hear the thump on the ground, and boom, there this thing is, right? The area around the marsh for Tamarack Creek is full of deer. There's no hunting allowed. Some of this we don't need to read. There's a bit more. We're basically done with that one. So
Hmm.
that's the first story. So it's kind of interesting. You get
Hmm.
to see what they do for their investigation as well. Um, I believe it was this one. Maybe it's the second one. I think it's the second one where they actually were able to go out there and see what was going on. So
Hmm.
that's the first
Hmm.
story. Let's take a look at the second one. Um,
Okay.
the second one is April 15th, 2024. This is in Thurston County, Washington. The location, Black River, which is across from the highway. That's all it says.
Okay.
Um, so 3 miles south of Little Rock on Little Rock Road Southwest. Nearest town, Little Rock. Okay, so what was observed? So the story itself is short, what these
Hmm.
people put. However, the investigation is more like the story. And you'll see what I mean. So,
Huh.
what was observed? It was dark hair all over it, and it moved while I was looking up at it. It then turned and crouched down and looked at me. So there was other witnesses. That's the story.
Okay.
Other witnesses. He heard brush moving, something rustling. Whatever. You
Hmm.
can't. It's no point in reading the rest of that. But
Okay.
let's go to the investigation. On April 19th, 2024, the investigator says, I called the witness and left a message. She called back. This is what she told me. She and her friend were walking along Little Rock Road Southwest, partly for exercise, but also looking for aluminum cans. They were each on one side of the road. She was closest to the creature on the east side. Her friend was on the opposite side. They both heard something rustling in the brush. He pointed to where he heard the rustling up on the railroad bed. So this is the one that where I saw the short railroad embankment. So I
Hmm.
apologize. This one's about 5 feet high. She looked to where he was pointing. She said she could see a very dark form and thought it was a shadow at first. It was not at the edge of the road, but rather up on the old abandoned railroad bed next to the road. Railroad bed is no longer marked on modern maps, blah, blah, blah. So they include photos, the maps of the location. As
Hmm.
she was looking at it, it stepped towards her, turning from a side view to a full frontal view, and then squatted down looking at her. She said that it looked like a caveman with hair all over it. She described it as massive and black in color. I asked her to describe the face. She said that it had hair all over its face, but that the eyes were an amber color. The sun would have been shining on it because it was facing west. The sun was in the west at the time of day. It was a sunny day. So he's probably saying that, noting that to, it's showing that they are looking at detail, right?
Hmm.
Well, first thing comes to my mind, how the hell could you tell its eyes were amber or it appeared to be amber? So he's obviously noting, okay, where was the sun? Because there had to have
Hmm.
been some light on the face, right? So that's probably why they're noting that. I asked how large it was. She couldn't tell me, so she put her friend on the phone. He saw it too, but from the other side of the road. He said he estimated it to be 9 feet tall. So, April 25th, 2024, at 4 p.m., this again is still from the investigator. My wife and I met the witnesses at the location. I asked witnesses to point out where they were when they had the sighting. The male witness had placed a fallen branch up against the guardrail to mark the spot. They pointed out where the railroad grade was, bunch of stuff. Okay.
Hmm.
I have a female witness where she was standing when she had the sighting. She indicated she was on the east side, closest to the railroad gate grade. Male witness was on the west side, took photos. The male witness stated that he was hearing something walking through the brush on the railroad grade and mentioned it to the female witness. They both saw the large black shadow. I asked the witnesses to describe what movements they observed. She said that it was facing north and they were seeing it from the side. Then it turned to its left to face them and squatted down. But they were on opposite sides, right? So there's probably a little mix up here. I don't know. Maybe maybe the mix up's with me. She said that she could still see it after it squatted and that it had bright amber colored eyes and hair all over its face. She kept saying, quote, "It wasn't human." The male witness saw the same. So after reviewing what they'd seen, the female witness became very distressed about being there. This is while the investigator went out there to talk to them.
Hmm.
She became very distressed about being there. She wanted to leave. Talking to the male witness, he mentioned that it didn't bother him to be there as he had seen two of them in the past. And wasn't afraid of them. At the female witness's insistence, they both walked back up the road to the public boat launch, about half a mile away, where their friend was parked, and their friend was the one who drove them there.
Hmm.
Um, so the investigator explored the area to the south. His wife and him drove back to the boat launch. The witnesses had departed. Not too much more. The road where this was seen followed the side of the hill to the east, crossing the railroad. Some more detail. It went about 200 yards and then dropped down the slope to the railroad again. Let's see, there's a lot of deer in the area. I remember they mentioned seeing a lot of deer beds, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
7 p.m. on April 30th, we returned to the pullout where the witnesses had their sighting. I found a cut in the east side road bank where a creek flowed under the railroad grade and into the roadside ditch. I worked my way up into the cut to see if I could access the railroad grade from there. I found a trail of sorts going from the creek straight up the almost vertical slope about 8 feet up to the railroad grade. There were two impressions in the side of the bank that resembled steps. They would enable Sasquatch to take a step with a right foot, then a left foot, and then the third step would put them on top of the railroad grade. Spacing was too large for me to attempt. Also, I didn't want to disturb what I found, blah, blah, blah. So he includes pictures. And what he's saying is this embankment that goes up to the railroad right there,
Mm-hmm.
it's steep and it's
They
fairly
usually are
tall. It's
pretty
8
steep.
feet. It's 8 feet. But what he's saying is there's two steps going up of
Mm-hmm.
sorts, not like made steps. Who knows? I mean, maybe someone dug a little bit out. But I saw it's kind of rocky looking, the steps. Um, I don't like that he's saying this would be perfect for Sasquatch to get up because again,
Well,
you're basically saying Sasquatch is real, and we don't know that for a fact,
yeah,
And
putting his interpretation on everything.
yeah, and if you believe there really is a Bigfoot, I'm fine with that. You believe it, great. You don't believe it, great. But you're stating it as fact, and to me, I think definitely for myself, and I think for a lot of people, that right there is just a red flag. I think that's just a red flag. Now, it doesn't matter to the story. No, because what matters is these people's story. But the investigator, I don't believe, should be doing that. So they include some photos. He talks a little more about walking the trail. He found the exact spot where the Sasquatch was reported to be standing. Um, he looked for tracks and impressions. But other than disturbed vegetation, there was little to see. Not much. More pictures of the embankment, this grade that goes up about 8 feet. Not really much else on that. Let's see. Followed by watch curious Sasquatch as they walked along the road. I believe that these two people were probably being followed and watched by a curious Sasquatch as they walked along the road. Okay. We're here to do an investigation, not
This is what we think happened. Like,
not
well,
to say that, you know,
put their narrative to it, I guess.
I don't like that, but doesn't matter. So let's take a look at their site. It's pretty cool. Go to the homepage here and share it. So let's take a look real quick. It is pretty cool. I like it. I think you guys will like it. Let me share it right now. So this is their website. You can scroll up and down, blah 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 blah. But what you're interested in, if you want to see if there's been any Bigfoot sightings in your area, going to go right here to this map shows the entire United States, Canada, Alaska, Mexico. Boom. Click on what you want. I'm going to click on the US. So, what do we want to see in the US? What state do we want to see? Surely there's no Bigfoot sightings in Florida. So, let's go to the you know what of
Oh,
America. And now you see all the counties here on the left
I
and the
want to
right.
see North Dakota.
So, North Dakota.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we want to see North Dakota?
Because there's nothing there.
I don't know which one's North Dakota. Let's
Go
click
to
on it down
Montana.
here.
Okay.
There might not be any LMN. There it is, North
Ooh.
Dakota.
Okay.
Oh, and on the main page right here, also it tells you number of listings, 6.
6.
The
Yeah.
most recent report, last posted, whatever. So you can see the county. You can see all the counties and where those reports come from, which counties. So there's not much there. So we're
No,
not going to look at
that's
that.
crazy.
We're going to go back to America's crotch,
Chicago.
Florida.
Oh,
And what do we have here? We got 2024, 2023. This is just how it is. Kind of interesting. Let's look at they also class them. You have a class B, class A, class C. I believe class A. Let's look at a class A. See if they have any pictures. So they'll include pictures like this. They'll have coordinates, GPS coordinates of where this was at. Some zoomed in on the maps. This is normal, and they obviously went out. Oh, nope, didn't go out there. But I mean, that's basically it. Let's look at the one I looked at. Washington, was that Thurston? Yes, Thurston. Let's see, April 2024. This is the one. So here's the pictures they included with that second story we read.
yeah. Okay.
He's talking about the steps that go up the embankment right here. And they're not real steps, as he said. They're just, you could put your foot there, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
But he said he was unable to do it. You would have to be much larger. But this is kind of what they do. This is just him back there, just to give an idea of what you'd be seeing and height and all that. Yeah, so that's basically what it is. Their site's pretty cool. If it doesn't matter if you believe Bigfoot's real, it doesn't matter if you believe it's not real. Their site is fun to go to. You can see a just crap ton of stories. So it's pretty cool. It's interesting. It's fun to kind of go to your area and see what's there. You live in say Los Angeles County. Well, good God, look at this. 20 reports, most recent from May 2010. Let's say you live in Orange County. I mean, here's literally all the places you can look at. Nothing in orange, which I'm not surprised, but you can find everything here. It's pretty interesting to do. Check out your area. You're going to find some sightings, places you wouldn't have thought, but then again, maybe you have thought. So I don't know. What do you think about the stories? It's kind of to show off kind of their website, but also to see what they do for investigation. But what do you think? I mean, I think you've checked it out before probably as well.
Yeah, I have. First one, I'm having a really hard time believing that it was any form of a Sasquatch or a Bigfoot or so. I've been looking at this area. It is surrounded by highway subdivisions. It's not a large area at all for like a Bigfoot type being to be able to sustain itself without being seen more than this one time or however many times. I don't believe that's what it was.
Well, let's say there is something there. I mean, that doesn't mean that's the only time it's been sighted there.
True. I'd have to look, but at this, it just...
how many people don't report it? How many people don't know about BFRO.net? Probably a crap ton of people.
That's fair. That is true. I just, being from Michigan, have never heard of anything like that. I mean, we hear more about like the swamp man and like the stink man of like...
That's the same thing.
I know, but not in Michigan. That's what I'm
Oh,
saying. That's what I'm saying. Trying to say is in like Louisiana or in other
oh,
parts, like not ever in our own state. It's just never been a thing.
yeah. Well,
Correct me
how
if
many
I'm
people
wrong.
are going to talk about it too? You know?
Well, no, I was my people are into things like that, but
Yeah, true.
I
You got
don't
to get
know.
out a
After
lot in
looking
the
at the
forest.
area, like I said, I just have a hard time believing that it was a Sasquatch. Again,
Yeah, it
like
really
you
does
have
sound
to
like a bear.
have, huh? Yeah, it does.
It
It really
really
does. And
does.
even then, that's kind of pushing it. But
Yes. The going up the hill on two legs, I could totally see. You got to remember that first one lasted maybe 10
10
seconds.
seconds,
That's
yeah.
very fast for just your normal average untrained person.
Hmm.
Untrained meaning untrained at focusing on detail in a short amount of time.
Yes.
For an unexpected event to happen, 10
Yes.
seconds very short for you to try to gather any data and process it in your head
Hmm.
without messing it up. And I'm not saying
Agreed.
I would do any better. I'd probably do the same. And that's the point. The whole two legs
Agreed.
thing, and bears are tall when they stand, full grown adult male bears. But the part that gets me is when it went up the embankment on 2 feet. Now, how do we know that they didn't just see it incorrectly and because the embankment is steep, it did go up on 4 feet?
And it
It
did
was so
just didn't
quick.
see the front 2 feet because it was being hidden by the
There in
body as it
front.
was.
Yeah.
That's like either way. I just that one I have a hard time believing.
Yeah.
The Washington one again,
I
I'm
mean, I
just
believe it
not.
happened.
Huh?
But what I believe it happened, but
Oh
what it
yeah, something
was,
definitely happened. Was it a
yeah,
Sasquatch? No,
yeah.
personally, that's what I think. No. The second one, in Washington, if there was a thing that is a Sasquatch, I would probably more be more likely to believe that one, just because
Yeah.
Washington is a better location to be able to hide a sustainable population of primates. Let's say
Mhm.
Sasquatches, however you want to call them, stink man, ape man, whatever. Uh, that would just be more of a believable place for
Yeah,
me.
in the Pacific Northwest, we already know is been a major hotspot
Mm,
for alleged Bigfoot
mm,
sightings.
yep.
Um, is Bigfoot real? Is it not? I don't know. But if you do a little digging, and we may try and find this at some point. But I've read some reports of some people that study life, biology, that type of thing. They're very strong in that field, and they have put data together and looked at the possibility that there could be some type of animal out there that is that large that we have not successfully been able to find and see and capture yet, um, being able to sustain itself. And basically, what they've determined is that you would need such a massive population of these things to be able to sustain that it this is almost complete BS. Doesn't mean people aren't seeing something, but they have determined it's practically impossible for something to be that elusive, to be able to sustain itself in
Mm-hmm.
such a vast amount of area. We're talking not just the entire U.S. You're talking the entire
The
world.
world, yeah.
We would have captured one by now,
Mm,
studied it, and put it in the goddamn zoo. Ultimately, that's
yeah.
what it comes down to. We also can't forget we have a UFO problem, right? And is the UFO problem just humans? Is the UFO problem a real thing? Is it human technology? Is it just in our heads? Is it alien? Who knows? Common sense, you have to kind of lead towards humans. It's the only form of
Mhm.
life that we know about that can
That we can
do
confirm.
anything that even comes close to what people see. I
Yes.
saw something. I can't jump to an alien conclusion. It's probably man-made. I was listening to some shows today and some people talking about DARPA. These are some people in the know. One of them was saying, he's a former CIA guy. He's like, last I heard, he goes, DARPA, and we all know what they do, a bunch of
Mm.
top secret crap for the government. He said, last I heard, they were like 10 to 20 years in advance in
Yeah.
technology. And the guy hosting the show said, I heard between 30
More.
to 50 years, and the
That's
CIA
what
guy
I've
goes,
always been told.
I would not doubt it at all at this
Yeah.
point in time. I wouldn't doubt it. So
I've always believed that like the higher up secret military has always been at least 50 years ahead of like what
yeah,
we are aware of. I've always
yeah.
believed that. Yeah.
And it's been like that for a very long
Yeah.
time. So if
Oh yeah.
you think about major flaps like UFO flaps, Bigfoot flaps, things like that, um, you gotta remember, if we can gain if we can think up and make technology that can make you see shit in the sky that's not really there, which we can do now, and on the ground, what better place to test it than everywhere? Because nobody's going to have a clue it's us doing it, and you can test it out. Imagine the advantages, just for mind manipulation in other
Mm-hmm.
countries to help deteriorate a society. Imagine the useful
Oh
benefits
Jesus.
in
Yeah.
wartime. We have technology they've been working on that they can do, and it has to do with focusing some types of energy beams. Yeah, I'll just say lasers, but to my recollection, not visible light.
Mm-hmm.
And you get more than one, you get at least two, and you can make them come to a point anywhere in the sky. Just widen them out. They come to a
Yeah.
point up here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Closer together, the point's back here. And what it does is it just fucks with the atmosphere, the everything in the atmosphere there creates this plasma effect, and they can essentially make something appear there. Now then, it's just light. They're not actually making a physical object appear,
Mm-hmm.
but just light. Now, allegedly, they can kind of do that into shapes. Imagine more points of light. Imagine be able to, once you get those two beams touching out there and you can manipulate the atmosphere, um, increase or decrease the amount of energy to do things. Maybe you can, um, put, think of putting like a cookie cutter over it. So the beam coming out is wider than the cookie cutter, right?
Mm.
But the cookie cutter is in the shape of a human, let's say. That light going through that cookie cutter, boom, it's fucking with all the plasma, the atmosphere, creating this effect that looks like a human in the sky, but it's
Mm.
just light. You know,
Yeah.
they're pretty much there. So who the hell knows? And could that be satellite based, aircraft based? I mean, the amount of energy it would take would be massive.
Mm.
So how would you power that?
Yeah.
But from the ground, they can do it. So
Interesting.
we also want to remember a lot of Bigfoot sightings come with UFO or UAP sightings as
Mm.
well within the same general time frame within a few days of each other. So there is a line of thinking now that there could be a correlation as well. Um,
Bigfoot's just Chewbacca.
who knows? Yeah, or
Ah.
Chewbacca is just Bigfoot.
I
Apples
mean,
to oranges.
same,
I
same, but
mean,
different.
yeah,
Same, same. Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
So
Mhm.
that's yeah,
Yeah.
that's Bigfoot, guys. We'll do some more Bigfoot stories from the site. I want to look up some more interesting ones. I mean, those are interesting, but I don't always want to go into the observer or the investigators stuff. But they, I wanted to do Bigfoot tonight for a reason.
Mhm.
Next week I will be out of town, and along my drive is a massive salt lake. The salinity is so nasty. You don't want to go in it. Um, and they have these formations that come up that grow out of the ground just over years called tufa, Tufa. And this
Ooh.
tufa, I have a few pieces somewhere. I mean, you can get a piece like the size of my head and it's super light. Um, you can see it from the main highway when you're going north past it. It's called Mono Lake. For those of you in California who've heard of it,
Monolithic. That's
believe it or not, there is one or two sightings from Mono Lake, and there is video of one of them, and I've seen it. It is totally legit. It is old from back in the day. These people had no clue, and they were the only ones there. And if you go to the area, you'll know what I'm talking about. you will know if you're the only one there or not. It's easy to tell.
Mm.
And they did not have any clue that they had caught anything on video. It wasn't until years and years and years later when they were watching their old home videos where they actually saw this thing in the video. Because in the video,
Yeah, that's
you're
cool.
filming it, you're looking through there, looking at your people, and your
Yeah,
people are whatever, and there's only 2 people or 3 people.
and you're not
That's
paying
when they
attention,
see,
yeah, to
yeah,
what's in
and
the
that's when
back.
they see this thing in the video, and they're like, "What the hell?" There was nobody there when we went. There was literally no one there, and you would remember if there's someone there because you're out there and someone just rolls up. You're gonna take a look because it's desolate. There's
Hmm.
not a lot out
Yeah,
there. There's also bears in the area, but bears aren't going down to Mono Lake to drink that shitty water. There's mountain lakes
and
right there.
streams that are probably a
Yeah,
hell of a lot better.
yeah, and they got
Yeah.
to cross the 395 highway too. I mean, I'm sure they go down there.
Ooh.
It is bear country, but so
Oh,
that's what I kind of wanted to do.
395. Oh
That's
god,
kind of why I
fuck that
want to do some
road.
Bigfoot stuff. I will be
Mm-hmm.
hitting up Mono Lake as well as I'll be in the Sierra Mountains there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I will be going to a couple different ghost towns. One of them, all that's left is a cemetery. I plan on taking my 360 camera, so
Yes.
I am not going to stand there with a selfie stick in front of 100 people. So one of the ghost towns, I probably won't get any video. I'll be going to get a lot of pictures. But the other one, Aurora, Nevada, pretty cool. They do
That's
have
why I
mining
have
op.
a body cam so I can get all the footage I want without
Yeah,
bothering. Yeah.
yeah. They do
Mm.
have a mining operations going on that started up in recent years nearby.
Mm.
A real mining operation, a modern day mining operation.
That's cool.
So
Yeah.
roads should
Okay.
be better, but it's just a cemetery there. But this is the one where I told you guys when I went there with my parents when I was younger, high school ish, just before high school. Yeah, it was high school.
Mm-hmm.
When we pulled up, there's nothing there. It's tall bushes and big, wide trees, shaded. It's right in between hills. There was never a massive town there,
Mm-hmm.
and all that's left is this little tiny cemetery, very small. And man, when we went there, and we went with a family friend who was a couple steps down from chief of police in a major police department locally.
Mm-hmm.
So, point is, he was packing, and that's who I'm with. And we get out, and I remember just having an eerie feeling, like looking over my shoulder, wanting to the
Oh
whole
my
time.
god, yes.
And I don't get that a lot. I prefer the dark because, I'm hidden, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is daytime, and I'm like, it's odd. So I'll plan on getting some
Oof.
video there.
Oh, fuck yeah, thank you.
But yeah, that's
Yeah,
about it.
all right.
With that, we're gonna get out of here. I'm gonna
Mhm.
try and find a Sasquatch body and some petrified Bigfoot
Thanks for
poop.
watching. Be sure to check back with us often for new episodes. Feel free to drop a comment and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Obscured Reality.